if you want to go far, you go alone. But if you want to go very far, you go together. And that is what we need to fight for climate justice.
Throughout this episode, we're going to meet some people who are coming together to protect their future, like these children in Kampala, Uganda.
Drums, dancing, shouting. No, this is not a festival. It is a climate demo. We are right in the middle of the Children's Climate Change March. In April 2026, thousands of school children took to the streets in Uganda's capital, Kampala, calling for greater climate justice and a clean environment. Some of them have been trained by the organization Little Hands Go Green as so-called green ambassadors. 9-year-old Melissa is one of them. Her mission: to spread the green gospel, one child at a time.
I'm going to teach children how to keep the environment safe by collecting plastic waste, by planting more trees, by planting flowers.
10 years ago, Shalom Nalubiga was one of those children. She shows where this can lead.
They're going to really change how people look at the environment. They're going to change a lot about the world, and hopefully and possibly we'll probably be saved from the doomsday clock, because we all know it's very close to midnight.
And Kampala is not marching alone. In Munich, children are on the streets too. Parents in tow, signs in hand, with similar messages.
So I say hi to Kampala because you guys are probably marching, we are marching.
We are proud that we have done something very historic. 2 continents, 2 countries, 2 cities, 1 global solidarity march. The theme for this march across both continents is our environment is our future is our responsibility, let us take charge. So the young 7-year-old will go back home and tell mommy, no, we can't trash this, we can't litter.
Kampala produces 2,500 tons of waste every day, but only half is collected. The rest, it often ends up exactly where it should not: on streets, in drains, and in waterways. For Melissa, climate action does not stop after the march. In her neighborhood, she tries to show other children what they can do.
Throw it to the rubbish pit or in the dustbin. You have to clean the water sources, remove polythene bags in water so that you get clean water.
You, as one person, if you keep on carrying this chain everywhere that you go, imagine how you're going to teach someone else to carry it on.
In Munich, the message comes with costumes, color, and a few very committed bees. But behind the playful scenes are serious demands: less oil and gas, more renewable energy, and fewer emissions.
Children and the youth deserve a future that is better. They do not deserve to suffer from the consequences of our actions. This is why we should be able to sow the right seed so that the children and the youth can have a better future.
Their march leads them to the city administration. They are calling for better waste management, clean drinking water, and many more trees. More trees mean more shade, cleaner air, and more carbon stored.
We have over 150 districts in Uganda alone. Imagine if every district and its members of parliament made a deliberate effort to either plant trees or do boreholes. Where would we be? We'd have a healthy, green country.
It really excites me that I can proudly say that I have built over 1,500 plus trees around Uganda, and that just makes me so happy and at peace in my heart, because I know that I have done something to change the environment.
Melissa also wants to contribute. And despite her age, she already sees the bigger picture.
I think the environment helps us in the formation of rainfall. The environment can control soil erosion. It can help the farmers in their growing practices.
From Kampala to Munich, the message is simple but strong. The future is not just something children inherit, it is something they are already fighting for.
How can such energy be turned into lasting change? If the children can retain their ideals and grow up to be active citizens, officials or politicians. That's what has happened in Freetown, Sierra Leone, where the mayor has taken up the fight for a livable city.
She's full of energy and determination. Her city is heating up. It's already 30 degrees Celsius now. That's no longer unusual, and nights barely cool down. Yvonne Akisoya, the mayor of Freetown, wants to make the city more livable. She listens to what people are saying about how the rising temperatures are affecting them.
Central Business District. And how would it do it? Well, we did work in collaboration. One of the impacts is on traders. As you can see, we have a significant informal sector, and many of the women are literally sitting in the sun all day long. So part of our climate change interventions is building market shade covers.
Nearly 2 million people live in Sierra Leone's capital. Many earn a living as street vendors. Akisoya wants to improve conditions for the city's poorest. Sometimes, that starts with simple things: sidewalks, fewer cars, better public space. Some city council members are meeting engineers from UN Habitat to discuss new projects. Other improvements are already underway. It's wonderful that our sewer is hardly ever blocked anymore. Sanitary conditions have already improved a lot. Freetown is on the front line of climate change. Rapid, unplanned growth, deforestation, and coastal settlements have left people exposed to flooding, heat, and landslides. In 2017, a massive landslide killed over 1,000 people, displacing thousands more, a wake-up call the mayor is determined to address. But Akisoya also wants something else, a cleaner city. She dreams of a Freetown like the one she remembers from childhood.
I'm an outdoor girl. I was raised by a father who's a zoologist, so and I'm also one of 4 girls. So swim, climb trees, ride bicycles, skateboard was my life. And that meant that, you know, just a real love for nature. We lived in Fairway College, which then was mountains. You know, our backyard was just forest. We would fish in the stream.
One of her favorite projects is the city's first wastewater treatment plant. Here, wastewater is turned into biogas and compost. Before becoming mayor, Akisoya worked in finance in London for more than 25 years. Now, those connections and skills help her raise money for projects like this. In one of the world's poorest countries, support from donors like the World Bank and partnerships with other cities are essential. At this plant, briquettes are made from sewage sludge. They are an alternative to charcoal, which is harmful to health and the environment. For now, it's still a pilot project. Isafu Sisai received the briquettes for free. She is helping to test the new fuel at home. There's only a small amount of smoke. It's different. This coal is much safer. The fire goes out on its own and it doesn't smoke non-stop. Since Akisoya took office in 2018, the city has changed a lot. More than 1 million trees have been planted. Freetown also has Africa's only heat officer, Eugenia Kagbo. She tends to climate projects like mangrove restoration, which helps protect coastal communities from flooding. She works directly with residents, creating shaded spaces and raising awareness about how to cope with extreme heat.
It's very important because those who are already vulnerable as 35% of our city's population live in formal settlement, are extremely disadvantaged by extreme heat. So I was appointed to help work with the city to develop plans and roadmap to address the problems of extreme heat and to ensure that those who are most vulnerable can cope with rising temperatures.
A livable city means more than adapting to heat. It also means keeping the city clean. Many streets are swept every day, and residents are encouraged to dispose of waste responsibly. When she walks through the city, nothing escapes her attention, she says. Not even a piece of trash on the street. As the reporter, I wonder if I should grab it. What if it's a test?
You hear what he say? We use every opportunity. I think with me, I'm kind of like my sixth eye or third eye just sees any drop of litter.
More can be done for Freetown. She says she gets involved wherever she can, and that she wants more than anything to see real change. And looking ahead, she wants to take the work even further, beyond the capital. She's already said she's going to run for president of Sierra Leone in the next elections in 2028.
More proof that people can change things for the better. Take electricity. Many countries struggle to provide reliable grid power. In fact, in Zambia, some people already use some form of solar power. So what happens when a small community takes that idea seriously? Let's head to Germany, where one small town decided to power itself.
At first glance, Feldheim pretty much looks like a street surrounded by a lot of fields. Okay, the name is starting to make sense.
Maybe the place got its name for exactly that reason, because the wind can whistle along the field.
This is Michael Raschemann. He was the one who got the ball rolling by building 4 wind turbines here about 30 years ago. Over time, that slowly grew into this giant wind farm. There's also this biogas plant that uses organic waste to produce clean electricity and heating. When it gets too cold, this wood-fired heating system jumps in. Then there's a solar plant and this big battery. All of this infrastructure produces hundreds of millions of kilowatt hours of electricity every year, more than enough to supply Feldheim's tiny population with clean energy. Less than 1% of the renewable energy produced in Feldheim is actually used here. Power from the wind farm goes straight to the residents through an independent grid, which means it's very cheap. People here only pay 12 cents per kilowatt hour. For reference, I pay nearly 3 times as much in Berlin. Taking all fees into account, my monthly bill of 50 euros would come out to 15 if I lived in Feldheim. And that cheap local power is the reason why residents are such big fans of the huge wind farm in their backyard.
It's incredibly important to use this one small fraction of energy, about 1 million kilowatt hours locally, in order to gain acceptance to feed the remaining 99.5% into the grid.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Back to the 90s, when this same guy brought the first turbines to Feldheim. Michael Raschemann was still an engineering student back then. It was so momentous that local TV even covered it. He saw potential here. The village's vast fields were pretty high up for this flat part of Germany, great wind conditions, and there was already a power line close by. It was also a rural area in former East Germany struggling to find its place in a newly reunified country. People were curious and chatty.
They have a lot to say to each other. You can tell them some information, and it will spread relatively quickly.
Raschemann talked to the local government, residents, and the farmers' cooperative, which administers a lot of this land. Together, they agreed where these wind turbines could be built without bothering anyone. For example, by placing them far enough away so they don't cast a shadow on the houses. That was phase 1. Lots of talking. And as Raschemann and his wife founded the company Energiequelle that slowly expanded the wind farm, the talking continued.
This was a structure that grew slowly over time. More wind turbines were added, but the residents were always kept informed and involved.
This is Sebastian Herbst. He's a Feldheimer and the head of the Agricultural Co-op, a group of farmers who share land and equipment to make farming easier and more profitable. And this co-op is also in the clean energy game. Because right around the time the wind farm was growing in the early 2000s, farmers were in a tough spot. Their income was unstable, partly because the EU lowered minimum prices for a lot of their products. And the oil they used to keep the facility for these babes warm was expensive, so they thought, let's diversify. They joined forces with Energiequelle to build this plant. It uses manure from livestock, crushed grain, and corn to produce biogas. The plant captures potent methane that would have otherwise escaped into the air and turns it into a more climate-friendly fuel for electricity and heating.
It allowed us to secure our workforce and offer prospects, new jobs. At the moment, milk prices are low, pork prices are low, so the mood in agriculture is really catastrophic. And you're actually glad when you have something like a biogas plant.
But there is one final step that Rashomon believes really sealed the deal for locals, saying goodbye to big energy and lowering the prices. So Energiequelle cooperated with the local government to build an independent electricity grid in 2010. As in, they built their own power lines and all. But the locals wanted more. They also wanted access to renewable heating from here. That's why they joined forces with the municipality, businesses, and farms to build their own heating network. Each household invested 3,000 euros into this energy transition. And there was some money from the state and the EU as well.
A good, cheap solution for everyone.
This move made Veltheim one of a kind in Germany, to the point that it attracts visitors from around the world. Today, there are more than 180 bioenergy villages across Germany. They get most of their power and heating from clean sources, mostly biomass. Some of them are close to 100% renewable. But what makes Veltheim unique is that unlike the others, it's completely off-grid. The village runs its own heating and electricity network independently. And that really paid off in 2022. When Russia's war in Ukraine plunged Germany into an energy crisis, Veltheim continued to enjoy steady electricity and heating, and it was affordable. At the peak of the crisis, Germans paid an average of 45 cents per kilowatt hour. Veltheim stayed down here.
It's important that people actually notice electricity is cheaper because those things are standing so close to me.
Not only did longtime Veltheim residents accept clean energy in their backyard, more people are moving there because of it, like this guy, Jens Neumann.
Hallo.
Hallo.
Hallo,
Hi.
ich bin Beatrice.
Hallo
Freut
Jens,
mich.
hallo, herzlich willkommen in Veltheim. Schönen guten Tag.
Dankeschön.
So.
He and dozens of newcomers have been living in this house that opened in 2024. And he's wasted no time and got Veltheim written on his ID, even though it's now technically just a district of a different town.
So people know if they ever check me, not only does he live in Treuenbrietzen, but in the energy-independent village of Veltheim.
As for the wind turbines, he can barely see them from his backyard, or porch.
Keep building more. If my electricity bill stays this way with these hobbies I have, do your thing.
Because those hobbies he's talking about, they're very energy intensive and have racked up quite a bill in the past.
I was once told that I use enough electricity for 2 people. In my old apartment, I used about 2,400 kilowatt hours a year. All this technology needs a lot of electricity.
But as popular as this approach is in Veltheim, it can't work everywhere. There are specific circumstances that made it thrive here. It's a tiny district with a very curious, tightly knit community. For larger towns or communities that lack the natural advantages that these places have, trying to do the same thing would be much harder. That doesn't take away from the fact that planners did a lot of things right in Veltheim. By communicating, creating job opportunities, and providing unbeatable prices. But it allowed Veltheim to achieve its energy transition decades before Germany could even dream of completing its own.
Mini grids are not just a success story in Germany. Across Africa, there are already reaching millions of people. In Nigeria, there are already more than 200 mini grids across the country, and the number is expected to rise to 1,350 within 4 years. So this idea of communities having energy independence, it's already happening.
And it's not just about energy. When people come together, they can transform much more than the power of their homes. Let us go to Burundi, where millions of people turn out once a week under a special arrangement to work together for their land, their communities, and their future. In Burundi, Saturdays are different. While in many places it's the start of the weekend, here millions of people gather in cities and rural areas to work together. This community labor has been mandatory for almost 20 years and is changing the country. The advantage of community work is that you have a lot of people doing something at the same time, which means it gets finished quickly. Another plus point is that we teach people what to do and can demonstrate it to everyone right away, so it's easier for them to understand. Today, in the hills of Nyarushanga in western Burundi, the workers are repairing what's known as contour trenches. This involves deepening trenches that have been dug along the natural contours of the land to stop rainwater running straight down the hill. The planted embankments above the trenches help slow the water, which prevents soil erosion and stores moisture. This simple technique safeguards the steep hill and makes the land more fertile. In the past, the community work focused on cleaning up public areas. Now it's more about ecology. This community work is very important for the people. Even before the workers from the cooperative that's helping us today came along, we were raising awareness among residents about the need to protect the environment, especially by planting trees on bare hills, and that has already borne fruit. The community effort has also borne fruit for farmer Jean-Marie Nkorubusa, some 50 kilometers farther west. He spent years battling soil erosion on the hills here in Vyuya village. Often, it was in vain. When he learned to dig contour trenches and plant them, it changed everything. Where we dig the contour trenches, we also sow grasses for animal fodder, as it prevents the rainwater from eroding the soil. During the dry season, this grass is then a valuable source of food for our livestock. But the greatest success is in his fields. Before we learned how to build contour trenches, the rain washed away most of our crops because we farm on steep slopes. Not anymore. Where I used to harvest 1 ton of potatoes, now I get 3.5 to 4 tons. Back to Nyarushanga. These potatoes belong to a cooperative, one of hundreds across the country known as Sangwe, or Together. They don't just work together, they also plan the next harvest together. Farmers select the best potatoes from those that are already sprouting to sow them back into the ground as seed, a circular system. This same principle of solidarity applies in urban areas too. This Saturday, these workers, Burundi's largest city, Bujumbura, are building a new basketball court. Everyone comes together, everyone contributes to improving the place. I have no doubts about the future if we maintain this momentum. But you do need to provide clear goals and guidance for this community work. Otherwise, it can be ineffective. The bamboo on the banks of the city's rivers was planted by community work. The roots hold the soil together, preventing erosion and helping to prevent flooding in Bujumbura, a green barrier to mitigate the impact of a changing climate. Back in Nyarushanga, 2 hours to the east, workers are now harvesting beans, all on the same Saturday. The work is not voluntary, and not everyone is happy with that. We can easily find out who is not participating in the community work by consulting the leaders of the local groups. Every person who has worked is logged in an attendance book. Those who didn't participate first get a warning. If that doesn't work, we take appropriate measures, including sanctions. Farmer Mbonimpa Consil says she enjoys the work. What may look to some like tedious labor is, for many here, about coming together. After decades of ethnic violence that traumatized both Burundi and neighboring Rwanda. Sometimes the work isn't easy, but understanding the purpose behind it gives you strength for yourself and for the country. Even those who aren't sure about it realize that if they don't take part, they'll be left behind. Working together is a blessing. In Burundi, Saturdays are different. While elsewhere everyone does what they like, people here come together to work for a shared, sustainable future. Do you want to know more about how to protect your family and your communities from the effects of climate change? Then sign up for our new Eco Drop newsletter.
And don't forget, you can always write to us and let us know what you've been doing to improve the world around you. See you soon.